Good afternoon. Last time we developed a full-fledged business application called the Market Scope Analyzer, and we did this in under 30 minutes. So if you didn't watch that video, feel free to check back and you can see how we developed that from a product requirements document all the way to going live. Unfortunately for us, we probably missed some key elements when developing this application, and they might not be the technical elements that you're thinking about. Today, we're going to do a deep dive into. Oh, hold on a second. That is my CEO. This is Mara.
Hi, Mara. It's Isabel. I'm calling to let you know that I spoke with our sales leadership and we would like to get the Market Scope Analyzer implemented as soon as possible.
Isabel, that's great. I am very happy that the sales leadership was pleased with the Market Scope Analyzer. However, the application is not quite production ready. Let me get with the engineering team and get an estimate of the time and resources it will take to actually get this to production.
I'm not sure what you mean. You showed us the working application and you were even able to deploy it out to a website. When I chatted with our chief revenue officer, she estimated that this tool could save us 40 hours per quarter per sales region. That would be a savings of about $180,000 a year. So you can see why we would like to get this tool implemented as soon as possible.
I totally agree with you, Isabel. When we do AI-enabled applications, it is very easy for us to get that initial prototype out the door. Unfortunately, there are a lot of standards that we need to adhere to within our organization. We need to have a plan for integrating that into our environment and other environments potentially, and also get this on the deployment schedule. So let me get with the teams here and I will find out more information about when that can be accomplished.
Okay, that is disappointing to our sales team, but get back to me by Friday with a plan and we will go from there. Thanks.
Sounds good. Well, you guys heard it from the horse's mouth that we have a bit of disappointment going on in the organization due to our new AI enabled application. We were able to develop this application in minimal time with minimal effort using all of the latest new coding tools, but something went wrong on the business side. So, now today we're going to talk about what we could have done to avoid this situation and actually how much worse the situation is going to grow into as we start to discuss this new Market Scope Analyzer application with the rest of the team. Let's talk about what went wrong. What went wrong here really was that I frustrated my coworkers by demonstrating the Market Scope Analyzer application without giving them appropriate forewarning. So we're going to talk about what we can do about that in this talk today. I'm going to give you some supporting examples. So we're going to talk about traditional versus AI-enabled development and where I missed some pieces. Then we will talk about the differences between a startup and an established business and how they feel about the management of AI-enabled development throughout the organizational chain. And then we're going to talk about a few things that we can do first to avoid professional pitfalls within our AI prototype. First things first, no one likes to be surprised. What went wrong here? I frustrated my coworkers, and that is to put it nicely. They have potentially lost trust in me because I sprung an AI-enabled application on the organization without letting them know actually what I was doing beforehand. This is called stakeholder management, and I did a poor job because I was very excited about the new application, but I did not do a good job of communicating that out to the organization. Let's take an empirical chart example of traditional versus AI-enabled development to support our point that we should still continue with AI-enabled development. We should just do a better job on potentially the front end of managing expectations before. So with traditional development, you can see with the orange bars on the chart, we have requirements, development, testing and QA, and deployment. Then with AI-enabled development, we are saving almost 50% of our time. These are the yellow bars in the chart. And the majority of our time upfront is saved on the development and the testing and QA because, as you saw, we have code generators that can actually do that for us. Now, what does that mean for the actual life cycle phases here? Is that we have in each phase, we have, for example, in requirements and plan in setup, we have planning, alignment, design, and communication. I did very little of that, if any. Maybe a little bit of design, but I did do a product requirements document, but I did very little. So we know that I was lacking in that area when developing my new Market Scope Analyzer application. In development and QA, I was so excited that the coding and potentially the testing were going to be saved in time. I just went full speed ahead. And then in the deployment and release cycle, I also had not done any planning, communication. There were no marketing or branding considerations, no deployment plan, no plan to monitor usage. None of that was done when I developed my application and put it out there for my organization. AI-enabled dev saves us a ton of time, but we still have to manage all the other product development aspects. And that really starts with human beings and helping them to manage what we're doing. So let's talk a little bit about startup versus established businesses and how we can mitigate these risks up front so that we don't have frustrated coworkers or CEOs on the back end. Let's look at a CEO. A startup. So a startup might have a CEO, might have a layer of leadership below her, and potentially some application users. So in order to communicate out to your entire organization when you're at a startup, it is very easy to tell them that you are planning to do an AI-enabled application. Maybe you have some general designs that you'll chat about, but you can get aligned with them via a simple email or a Slack message telling them I'm currently working on a lightweight prototype, telling them when you're going to work on it, how many hours, and telling them all supporting materials are in a Teams channel called New Ideas. It's so easy to let them know in advance that it's kind of laughable that I did not do that if I were at a startup, for example. When I'm in an established business, it becomes much more complex. So there are, on this illustrative org chart, there's operations, sales and marketing, product and engineering, and all of these stakeholders are probably going to have issues with my AI-enabled prototype if I did not let them know in advance. Finance, they're going to ask, is this new feature in the budget? Branding and marketing, they're not going to be happy. This doesn't meet our branding guidelines. Design is going to ask you, where are the standard Figma flows for this application? DevOps is going to be super unhappy. This is not secure. It is not ready for our environment. Engineers, they're going to state, this doesn't meet our standards of our code base. In fact, it might not even be in the code that we use. Deployment, they don't have room in their release schedule or maybe their release train for X number of weeks. There's no way that they can fit in a new product. And worst of all is your leadership. They might want to know, did you deprioritize objectives to work on this? You are going to have so much pushback if you do not communicate up front. And that is why I am giving you this warning and helping you here to understand why we need to make sure that we have effectively communicated and done at least a minimal amount of planning for our AI-enabled applications. So what should we do? We should do this first to avoid these AI prototype pitfalls. Communicate to avoid frustration. So send out an email, create a channel in Slack or Teams, call it AI Prototypes, and invite anyone that's interested to join this channel so that they know what you're working on. If it's appropriate for your organization during ideation, present the why and the when of your idea so that others at least acknowledge what's going on. They may not have enough time to have a lot of input, but at least you can clear it up that this is a prototype, this is not production ready. Everyone can be on the same page about what and why you are doing this. I use this diagram for lots of product leader education. So essentially, a product leader has to communicate they need to communicate up to their leadership. They need to be communicating down to the design and engineering and testing teams, or any teams that report to them or under their product. And they need to be communicating outward to customers, stakeholders, marketing, everyone else. Now, with AI prototypes, my recommendation is to, at the very minimum, communicate to leadership above you and communicate to your design and engineering team that you are working on this. If you are a design or an engineer, communicate out to your coworkers that you are working on this so that no one is shocked when you come up with a new prototype that is not production ready. Because your AI prototype is generally, it is awesome, it is amazing, but it is generally not production ready on the first iteration. All of this is fondly referred to as stakeholder management, and it is not the first thing that builders think about when they're creating new AI-enabled products. You have a ton to offer your teams if you know how to use these tools, and you can get new prototypes and even full products out the door very quickly. But you will lose trust if you do not communicate and plan effectively with your team. So unless you are a team of one, seriously consider communicating and doing at least the minimum to educate those around you of what your new AI prototype is going to do, how you're going to work on it, and when you're going to work on it. If you would like to talk shop with someone who has made all of these mistakes and more, feel free to reach out. I love hearing about new tips and tricks that we can do with AI-enabled applications, but also getting these things out the door. Because it's also really important for all of your organization and your customers, everyone involved, to be on board so that they understand why this can really add value to the business.